struggle against the apartheid government in South Africa as a religious leader.
It was exhilarating, preaching to the oppressed and downtrodden. The well-to-do, the powerful, often complained that we were mixing religion with politics, and we would declare that we're doing no more, in fact, than just preaching the gospel. That they had brought us the Bible from wherever, and we were taking it seriously. We would be accused of being political, and I often retorted, I don't know which Bible you are reading. I must say, I've never heard the poor complain, Bishop Tutu, now you are being political. If anything, they would possibly have said, you are not political enough. And God vindicated us. Apartheid rulers beat the dust, as all oppressors have done always. For this is a moral universe. Right and wrong matter. It cannot happen that evil, injustice, and oppression can have the last word. No, ultimately, goodness, justice, freedom, these will prevail. What is this to the point? Now, I could have spent a great deal of time rehearsing what we all know, how I experienced a déjà vu when I saw a security checkpoint which Palestinians had to negotiate most of their lives, that I was reminded so painfully of the same checkpoints in apartheid South Africa, when arrogant white policemen treated almost all blacks like dirt, or when someone pointed to a house in Jerusalem and said, that used to be our home, but now it has been taken over by the Israelis, which would make me recall so painfully similar statements in Cape Town by coloureds who had been thrown out of their homes and relocated in ghetto townships some distance from the town centre. I could have bemoaned the illegal wall that has encroached on Palestinian land, separated families, divided property, and made what used to be a short walk to school turn into an expensive nightmare voyage, running the gauntlet of checkpoints, etc., etc. I could have said there were things that even you didn't find even in apartheid South Africa, that we had things that you didn't see in an apartheid South Africa, such as collective punishment. I have not gone that route. I have not gone that route. No, I have chosen a different approach. My address is really a cri de coeur, a cry of anguish from the depth of my heart, an impassioned plea to my spiritual relatives, the offspring of Abraham like me. Please, please, hear the call, the noble call of your scriptures, of our scriptures, to be with the God of the Exodus, who took the side of a bunch of slaves against the powerful Pharaoh. Be on the side of the God who intervened through his prophet Elijah on behalf of Naboth. Hear the plea of your scriptures and stand with the God who intervened through his prophet Nathan on behalf of Uriah against King David. Be on the side of the God who revealed a soft spot in his heart for the widow, the orphan, and the alien. Be on the side of the God whose Spirit sends us out to preach good news to the poor. don't be found fighting against this God, your God, our God, the God who hears the cry of the oppressed, the God who sees their anguish, the God who will always come down to deliver them. Be not opposed to the God whose Spirit, when it anoints you, makes you concerned for the poor. This is your calling. If you disobey that calling, if you do not heed it, then as sure as anything, one day you will come a cropper. You will probably not succumb to an outside assault militarily. With the unquestioning support of the United States of America, you are probably impregnable. But you who are called, are they who are called, asked to deal with the oppressed, the weak, the despised compassionately, caringly, remembering what happened to you in Egypt and much more recently in Germany. Remember and act appropriately. If you reject your calling, you may survive for a long time, but you will find it is all corrosive inside. And one day, you will implode. A recent report by a clinical psychologist who was herself a soldier in the Israeli Defense Force, Nofan Yeshai Katrim, at the Hebrew University, speaks of how Israeli soldiers were gratuitously cruel and carried out acts of brutality to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. One of the soldiers, she said, told her how a new commander went out with them on patrol. Because of curfew, there were no Palestinians in sight except a 4-year-old boy who was playing with the sand in the backyard of his home. And this commander went and broke the arm of this 4-year-old. And another soldier told of how, whilst they were on patrol, they encountered one Palestinian, and quite unprovoked, one of the soldiers shot him in the stomach, and they left him writhing on the ground, dying, as they drove off. When you uphold an unjust dispensation, it corrodes your humanity. In South Africa, a former cabinet minister in the apartheid dispensation showed this. When he was told of the death of Steve Biko in detention, Jimmy Kruger said, it left him cold. Thanks be to God for the many, many Jews who know what their divine calling is and want the Israeli government to live it out. We believe in a two-state solution of two sovereign, viable states, each with contiguous borders, guaranteed as secure by the international community. We condemn all acts of terrorism by whoever they are committed. The suicide bomber has to be condemned for targeting innocent civilians, but equally, the Israelis are to be condemned for their acts of indiscriminate reprisal that too target innocent civilians. We say, please learn at least one positive lesson from apartheid South Africa. Under Mr. F.W. de Klerk, who must be commended for his outstanding courage, the apartheid rulers decided to negotiate not with those they liked, but with their sworn enemy. And they found the security that had eluded them for so long and that had caused so much suffering and bloodshed. It came not from the barrel of a gun. No, it came when the legitimate aspirations and human rights of all were recognized and respected. That was 13 years ago, and the peace is still holding. Many had predicted that South Africa would be overwhelmed by a catastrophic racial bloodbath. It did not happen. It did not happen because they negotiated in good faith with their enemies. Somebody has said, if something has happened once, then clearly it is something possible. It happened in South Africa. Why not in the Middle East? The world needs the Jews who are faithful to their vocation that has meant so much for the world's morality, for its sense of what is right and wrong, what is good and bad, what is just and unjust, what is oppressive and what sets people free. Jews are indispensable for a good, compassionate, just, and caring world. And so are Palestinians. Thank you.
Former South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu, speaking recently at the Old South Church in Boston, along with Noam Chomsky and others, at a conference sponsored by the Palestinian Christian organization Sabeel. If you'd like a copy of today's broadcast, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. The transcripts will also be available there, as well as the video and audio podcasts. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Sharifa Belkadous, Aaron Mate, Anjali Kamat, Jeffrey Hagerman, Steve Martinez, Nicole Salazar, Ricardo Lobo, Kizzy Cox, Mike DeFilippo, and Miguel Noguera are our engineers. Special thanks also to Becca Staley and Hugh Gran and Samantha Chambly, John Randolph, Jose Miranda, Laura Chipley, and Vesta Godars. Again, our website, democracynow.org. Special belated happy birthday to Samantha Chambly as she says goodbye to her 20s. On December 15th, I'll be at the Washington Convention Center celebrating 30th anniversary of WPFW. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.